Stacking them deep, selling them cheap.
It tastes like gasoline, rubber, and victory.
We're just out here stacking pennies.
All right, guys, it's the guest we've been talking about, the points leader from down under. And it's not SVG. This is the guy who's ahead of SVG in points, coming for our heads this weekend. Brodie Kostecki, long time no see, buddy. Thanks for coming in the studio.
No, thanks for having me. It's like a blast from the past here.
It is, man. I'm excited. I'm excited you're coming banging some fenders with us this weekend. For those that don't know, the Earth and time is a flat circle because it was 10 years ago. I was wearing a headset like I am right now on the pit box for this freaking guy in Iowa. Like, what do we crew chief? I crew chiefed you half the year. You were in between some guys. I filled in, and we had some fun. We had some success. And now we're lining up together at a cup race. And we also live on different sides of the world. So, like, that's bizarre to me just to even, like, say that. And here we are 3 days before we're about to go to Indy and have some fun.
Yeah, definitely. It is, like, pretty interesting, like you say. Like, world does go around in full circles. So, yeah, it's obviously good to see you again. And I got to see you a year ago now at Gateway, and then obviously got to see you again when you jumped in the 9. So, yeah, it's full circle, like you said.
And contrary to what people might think, this wasn't like you were sitting on the couch in Australia watching SVG come take our lunch money and go home, and then you're like, hey, I want to come do this too. This deal was already in the works. You said it's been almost a year in the making to try to put this deal together with Mobile X and RCR. So how did this all kind of your interest coming back to NASCAR in a much more capacity, how'd that start rolling?
Yeah, it sort of started about a year ago. When I sort of actually come back and I went to the Indy 500, went to Gateway because it was on the week after. And, sort of just put my face in front of a few people. And, I wasn't having a great season back home in supercars at that point. We were sort of, I think I was like 7th or 6th in points. So, it's hard to go to people and say, oh, I want to, try to do a road course. And you're obviously not the top pick of, the cattle from back home. So, just the goal was just to try to put my name in front of a few people. And, I got some really good friends back home that are, friends with some key people at RCR, Dana and Terry Wahoon. So, they put me in front of Richard about a year ago, and he said, oh, let's try and make something work. And, we locked in Indy probably around about 8 months ago now. And,
really?
So, that was really cool to do. And it wouldn't be possible without, Richard and everyone at RCR. So, big thanks to them.
Man, I'm super excited for you. Leading points, V8 Supercars right now. What was the chatter like after the Chicago Street Race, seeing one of the best of all time down there in the Supercar Series come win that race? What was chatter in the paddock the following week? Because it looked like watching some clips of the highlights of the following week. I don't know where y'all went. It was the next weekend. It looked like y'all didn't take it very easy on when he came back.
Yeah, well, it was, obviously the whole sport back home was following. Shane, when you come over and raced, it's always good to see your fellow companions go over and do something different. And obviously he had some, great success that weekend. So it was, really good to see. And I was talking a lot to him throughout the weekend and just asking how he was enjoying the experience. And he seemed to, really enjoy it over here. And he is probably one of the greatest of all time, back at home. So, it was obviously trying to learn as well, through, what he did over here. And, it was just, you got a reality check there when he come back at.
How do you go, though, and not chase that same result? Because that was such an anomaly weekend, first time at a street course in the history of NASCAR. Wet conditions to start, transition to damp, transition to dry with some parts were still ended up being wet. Felt like it almost went and fell right into his lap. Granted, he had to earn it, but we're going to a place now in Indy where we've got 3 or 4 years of experience, all the Cup drivers. So it's not quite as even of a playing field as it was for his first race. What are some of the –
This is what they're all telling themselves because they got their ass kicked. Like, it was a street course, and we're going to – we'll see how he does it.
So
no, I'm just kidding.
He was telling – let me get to that in a second. But, shit, yeah, if both of these guys run 1-2 and be like, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do.
And next they're going to be like, well, come to Bristol.
It would be like and this guy has more oval experience than SVG does. So, like, who knows what could happen. But it would be like you ever seen Cars 3?
I have seen Cars 3.
Well, if you have a 3-year-old, you've watched it about 400 times like I have. It would be like when Jackson Storm comes out of nowhere and wins a race, and then next thing you know, all the other cars are like Jackson Storms. What if this son of a bitch comes in and there's just a bunch of Australians driving everywhere?
You guys all lose your rides, and all those guys come over here.
Yeah, all
You guys got to go over there.
Yeah, we
swap rides.
Yeah. I'll be racing in NASCAR Brazil.
But I mean, that's what's interesting to me, though. You said that the wheels were in motion. Why did you choose Indy over like a Chicago?
Yeah, it was sort of, I think some of the team owners were, not really sure how Chicago was going to go and, how chaotic it was going to be, first street circuit. So, it was something that, Richard didn't want to do. And obviously they had really good success at Indy Road Course last year, when Tyler was driving. So they knew that they had good equipment for Indy and they, wanted to give me the best chance possible. So, but, like you said, the cards that Shane got dealt are going to be a lot different than what they are this weekend. Yeah. I mean, it's like if you try to put one of us in an oval, we're going to get spanked. It's just something that we don't do. But, street circuits is our bread and butter back home. So
how many? So you said you have 12 weekend events, double headers, right? Mm-hmm. Or sometimes three events.
Yeah, sometimes three or four. Well, Grand Prix race 4 times one weekend.
How many of those 12 are street courses?
I'd have to be 40% of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, 30% of the season. So there's a few of them.
So I saw the text like when you guys were going to Chicago that you had sent Corey just kind of on, how you use the brake.
Oh, bro, I was like, help me,
yeah.
Please, God, I have no idea what to expect.
He's like, look at all this information he sent me to digest. But how much different is it running a street course to a regular road course?
Honestly, your approach is completely different because, you can't, I can go to Indy and go bomb it into turn 1 and learn where my braking marker is, afford to make a mistake. You can't do that at a street circuit because you get penalized. Like you get, the car will be written off. So, that's sort of the biggest thing. And I don't know if you noticed it in the race, probably might have the mental fatigue. Trying to drive in between walls is just ridiculous. So it's, very... Yeah, wears you out a lot, and it's a whole different approach for myself and other drivers from back home. The street circuit stuff. It won't be easy at Indy, let me tell you.
I mean, you have a lot of runoff. I mean, you can end up in the third hole of the golf course if you really miss one too bad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we were sitting here talking before. It's like when I asked, you looked at the rear suspension and just the overall car of a next gen car. I didn't know that a completely brand new car was introduced in the V8 Supercar Series 2, and you just said it is a supercar. So what are is it all similar? Is it all the same?
Yeah, the concept is honestly pretty close to a supercar. I think NASCAR actually come to Australia maybe 4 or 5 years ago to try to learn about our cars a little bit and maybe adapt a little bit of it. But the main concept of the car is pretty close to a supercar. Obviously, there's a difference between the NASCARs make more power and there's a diffuser. We don't have that back home, but the main concept of the car is quite similar. Sequential, transaxle. It's all pretty close now.
So I found it interesting. There's a comment that had the rednecks a little frazzled that SVG had. He said it offhanded. I don't even think he meant it as a slight, but I think it offended some people. He says anybody in the top 10 of V8 Supercar points could come in and do the same thing. You're leading the points. What do you think?
You've really put me on the spot here.
That's why I asked you.
Choose a side.
Pick a side.
These are the controversial questions that can make or break a driver. Well, I mean...
We can cut it.
No, but I mean...
And clip it and put it on social media.
I don't know what to say here. But, no, I think what he means is back home, like I said to you previously, the cards that he got dealt with at that race, he doesn't go out and win every single race. And, this year everyone's got the same car and there's been multiple different winners this year. And it's literally closer than ever back home. There's a lot of different guys that, are able to go, win a race back home. So I think he's just, showing his sportsmanship to, us back home. And, I think that's all what he means about it. But, like Indy this weekend is a whole different kettle of fish. You guys have been there before. I think it's a whole different scenario.
You were mentioning that I asked what your race team comparison was over there in the V8 Supercars, right? Because we kind of talked to SVG, and his is like the Hendrick comparison, right? Like
that's correct.
They've got the people, they got the depth, they've got the resources, they got the manufacturer support. And oddly enough, you said yours is like RFK, where down a couple years, but this year you're leading points. You and your teammate are 1-2, found a lot of success this year. But when back to SVG's comment about the top 10, you rise to the level of competition, right? Like you've learned some of SVG's tricks and vice versa. So what are some of the things, because you've raced in the States, you've raced in ARCA, went back to Australia in 2016, 15. What are some things that you've learned racing at the highest level over there that you were like, ooh, like that's just, I got to start figuring that out or I'm going to get left behind?
Yeah, I've actually openly spoken about this and been asked about it because, when I went back to Australia, I sort of, went into the junior ranks and, raced through the Super 2 series, what they call there, and it's the development series for the Supercar series, and found success quite early, and it was kind of like, oh, where did he come from? But I put, actually, funny enough, most of my success back to what I did here in the States. The stuff that I was able to experience at a young age and the racing I got to do and was, it's all about experience at the end of the day. And the experience that I got here is something that I couldn't get back home.
Yeah.
And the level of competitiveness here at a young age is so high. Like there's, a bigger population here, and
especially when you were running the E Series.
Yeah.
Right. All those top runners there are in Cup now.
Yeah. Like exactly right. So it's funnily enough when you look back on things and the person that I had to become today or this year to be able to fight for a championship, I put mostly back to what I did here. So,
well, you look at if you put your career and SVG's V8 supercar careers on paper, right? He's one of the greatest of all time. Yours is trajecting that direction, right? Your number one mission is to win the V8 Supercar Championship this year, potentially next year, right? To get to a level of being in the same sentence as some of the greats, right? Only 25 years old. I believe Shane's 35. So there's a 10-year gap, 9-year gap.
Damn, you were on East cars when you were 15?
I was, yeah.
Damn.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been in this thing for a minute. Don't let the beard fool you.
I feel old now.
Like, what is – because it could be potentially clear what SVG's path is. If he has accomplished everything he wants to accomplish over there, he can come over here and have some fun and make some money. Do you stay over there and make your claim in that series? Or, like, what does the future pathway for Brodie Kostecki look like?
Yeah, I've got a lot of boxes I want to tick, back home.
Yeah.
Obviously we've only just passed the halfway point of our championship back home, and so yeah, there's still that to run out, and yeah, I've got a lot of things I want to do back home, and you also kind of have the mentality of coming here as to come to just take money. It doesn't work like that. Like it's so competitive here, and it's so hard here. You race every single week, so. I don't think you'll have much success here if you take that mentality back here. I think you've still got to put in, the same effort or if not more because you race more. So, I've got a lot of things I want to do back home. And to be honest, we only raced 12 times. So I just want to, broaden out my calendar and race as much as possible.
Yeah. So you mentioned putting forth the effort. A lot of effort goes into preparation for one of these road course races. You said you've been in the simulator, the motion sim, I'm sure, over 10 hours. Is that counting the ABT rig over at RCR? Have you done that?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Okay, so only at the GM Tech Center, you've been in that thing 10 hours.
Yep, I have been.
And since you're coming in with RCR as a key partner, you can probably get to look at William Byron's and Austin Dillon's and Kyle Busch's. How are you stacking up pace-wise?
Honestly, it is hard to tell pace-wise because of how those things work with the tires and
track grip.
Yeah, you can fudge so many different things, and I haven't been across all that side of things. So I've just been in there. I've kind of just been sitting there. I was in there yesterday for 5 hours straight, and I think my eyes went square. And they just ran me through a whole bunch of setups and trying to I'm trying to learn off them. They're trying to learn off me, and just trying to grow the partnership.
Who's your crew chief?
Justin Alexander.
Okay. Have you been around Andrew Dickinson?
I have been, yeah. I have been,
He's a state Australian guy. He's.
You said that's kind of the catalyst to kind of get the whole ball going.
Yeah, he's a stud. So off topic, his wife and my wife best friends in high school, so I get to hang out with him quite a bit. I always end up being friends with the Australians. But what does a week of preparation look like for you, like pit practice? Because when SVG came over, right, being fast on the racetrack's one thing, but if you speed on pit road this weekend, or you miss your pit box, or you have a miscue there.
Hard to come back from that.
Especially this weekend where there's no stage breaks and you could pit, once or even twice, whatever we saw last year. It's just going to be a strategy game. So I wonder what that preparation looks like for you this week.
Honestly, it's been a really steep learning curve for me. When Shane come over, they gave him, I think, 2 hours at Charlotte Roval to get accustomed to the car and just get a feel of it. And I didn't quite get that opportunity after Chicago. So, but
they said no more.
Yeah, I think that was more to the case of it all. So which I'm fine with. I love a challenge, but I did some pit stop practice today, and it actually hit me yesterday. I was driving on the road and I was doing 45 miles an hour and I went, damn, I got to stop when people are running out in front of me.
Yeah.
Doing 45 miles an hour. It's 40 kilometers an hour back home, which is like 27 miles an hour or something. So
slow.
Yeah, that actually hit me yesterday, and it was like I've got to stop in front of these guys when I'm running out in front of me, and it kind of like I got sort of a bit of a fright from it, but I did it today and it wasn't so daunting. They just said if you run us over, it's our fault. And I went, okay, it makes me feel way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're being nice. But it's a tight pit road, Indy, but I mean that's the thing is that to win a cup race, like we talked about the other week, and the show's called Stacking Pennies, but that's what it is now. It's like you're just gaining a little bit here and there, and then once your stack falls over for the day, you can't get it back up.
Yeah.
So that'd be exciting to watch. The other question I had is talking about how close the V8 supercars are to our next gen car. Is that why we're seeing an influx of you guys want to come over, or is it just the timing?
No, honestly, I think this car is being sequential and as well as the transaxle and whatnot. It's not easier for a driver from a different discipline to come over, but it's I guess more inviting. So like I see that just before I come in here, Mike Rockenfeller's been announced he's driving the 42 this weekend, and he has an amazing resume racing GT stuff.
Corey's teammate last year.
Yeah, we were hotel buddies last year.
Oh really?
Yeah. Let me clarify that. We stayed in different rooms.
I didn't mean to say roommate, say teammate, but it came out roommate.
So we shared a rental car back and forth to the racetrack, and we stayed, I don't know, like in Seneca, which is like an hour and 15 minutes away. And I just loved listening to him talk.
You wanted to go move to Sweden or wherever in Switzerland.
Yeah, I was about to go. He's next door neighbors with Sebastian Vettel. I'm like, I'm going to schedule a vacation right now. So, I mean, when you start lining up these freaking world-class road course guys, right? I mean, you're leading points in the pinnacle of racing in Australia. Mike Rockenfeller, he did 24 hours at Le Mans in the Garage 56 car. A little bit of cup experience last year as a teammate of mine in the 77, and then SVG, who came in and won his first race. Mm-hmm. Where do you think you stack up against the actual ringers now, and then as a collective group heading into the weekend?
Yeah, I think I'm very fortunate, like you said, to be with a key partner in RCR. They've put a lot of work into their road course program. I think to answer your original question of why more people have been coming and being interested from internationals to come do it is mainly due to the fact that NASCAR is doing more road courses now, so there's more opportunity for it to happen, less scheduling conflicts, with other series at, for example, Supercars back home. So I think, my goal would be to...
Forgot about Kamui, too.
Yeah,
Kamui,
Kobayashi racing. Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
Legend.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he's not... That's the thing, too, is like I think about Marcus. And
Ambrose.
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose, because he was like fiery. When I lived with George, I got to know Marcus well, and I wonder... like how much better he would have been if he had even equipment to everybody else. Because I think his talent exceeded the ride that he was in the whole time he was here. So, and he was able to, have one of the best finishes in NASCAR history. He had put himself in position at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. But if you take this schedule in this car and move it back to when he was here,
he'd win every road course race.
Well, he would probably have enough points to move him further up in the playoffs, and there was times at Vegas and
Michigan,
tracks
Charlotte.
where Charlotte where he would like show up, but you didn't know how much of that was like, okay, the team hit something this week, because Marcus Ambrose really good.
Yeah, he won a championship back home, so he left at the top to to come over here and do what he did. So I was able to follow his career when I was a young fella.
But that's the thing now, like when Corey, perfect example, like when you get in the 9 car, that you can miss it and run 30th on your setup. And back when Marcus was doing it, if you were in the 9 car, you were running no worse than 15th on a bad day.
Yeah.
But now it's so even. So even though it's just the timing that's working out, it couldn't be a better time in our sport for guys to come over because, like I said, you're not coming over and driving a
30
box car, right? You're running an RCR car.
Yeah.
And Shane's running a Trackhouse car, and Kobayashi's running a 2311 car. These are all cars that could go deep into the playoffs if you guys were doing it full time. So that's what's super interesting to me, and that's what I like about kind of where we're at as a sport on the car side and on the schedule side.
Yeah, I like too the challenge. I bet you it lit a fire on me, but I'm sure it put everybody on notice of like, ooh, like almost like like we might not be the only ones out here that can drive a car well in a circle, right? Like there's some other dudes out there on the other side of the pond that can come in here and teach us how to do it. So I'm curious to the effort level on the full-time driver side of how much more. I'm sure that a Kyle Larson gets in the simulator this week when he usually doesn't. I'm sure Chase Elliott probably flies in a couple days early.
Kyle Larson's at the Knoxville Nationals. He ain't doing
racing
sprint cars all week.
Okay, maybe not. He might play it on Xbox.
I still think you're looking at it wrong, though, like from a point of being on notice. Like,
Tell me.
Where can you go practice at a street course?
Never. And yeah, that's true.
Not on iRacing because he couldn't make it to the fourth corner.
I bet it's completely different. You can just crash and reset. So whereas we've like I said before, we race them back home all the time. So it's all about experience, really. At the end of the day,
you guys are gonna repave the Thunderdome before long.
Oh,
is that what that was? That's what it's called there?
Yeah, so they the Thunderdome, they actually just did their first race back there around Calder Park this week, funnily enough.
Really?
Look at
Is it repaved, ready to rock?
Nope, it's still worn out.
Really?
Even better. Is it? What's it like, Rockingham or?
Yeah, it's probably to that level of being like Rockingham. So I'm hoping they bring it back and do a supercar race on ovals,
bro.
And then you can come down and whoop our ass.
I would take that deal. Now, would we go counterclockwise?
Well, I would say so. I think that's what they did when they ran OzCar.
So they ran
right hand. You'd still keep right hand drive, and you would turn right.
Yeah, you go the other way, the opposite way.
Holy.
Well, you're on the other side of the equator, so you have to.
Toilet goes the other way.
Toilet goes the other way.
It trips you out at first.
It's just like when I draw the parallels of it and look at do you race sprint cars for fun too?
I do, yeah.
See,
I've just started. So last year I did one race, and I've done 4 races this year. And
are they 410s?
Yeah, 410s.
Jeez, hey, let's just go. What are you doing Tuesday night? Let's just go have some fun, run 410.
Yeah, let's go wrestle a kangaroo and drive a 410 sprint car. Like what? I don't know.
I love it.
I ride bikes with my kid in the neighborhood. No wonder why these guys come into sprint cars. So where do you think? What would be a good day? As you fly home with the 24-hour flight or however long it is, and you fly back, how do you leave the racetrack feeling like it was a good weekend?
Yeah, I'm a really competitive person, as well as probably everyone that's in the sport. But I've tried to do as much research and try to learn as much as possible. And I think I don't think speed will be too much of a problem. It's going to be about the execution. Like you hit on, and just simple things like pit road. We have speed limiters, don't have that for these cars, so it's something I'm going to have to learn. And if I could finish in the top 10 but show good speed, would be a good thing for me, I think. But I think that will be quite tough.
What about just beating SVG? Heads up, a little bit of bragging rights going back home.
I hope I get to race him on the track at some point, because our rules back home are so tight, like you can't bump and run.
Yeah, you just shove them off into one, keep going.
I would want to do that for years.
I actually might collectively go see every driver and say if they want to put some money in a pool, that I'll do it.
Yeah,
that's a joke, by the way.
Here, I got a couple $100 on this right now.
Well, I think, genuinely, and especially how he's talking, I don't think that the regular guys are going to be as nice as they were when he came the first time. I think they might use you guys up a little bit. But
now, because there was only a lane and a half worth of dry road in Chicago.
And there were single file restarts, which was a huge deal.
And there was single file restarts, so he could put somebody in a bad spot, and you would just not even contest, right? Like if he showed a nose, you're not going to go barrel it down in there because your rights are going to be in the water, and you're going to crash like Kyle Busch did 7 times.
Or like the 20 car did, right? With just got a little bit outside.
He got 6 inches next to the wall, and it speeds up, and you hit the tire barriers, right? But now if it's dry, every brake zone's contested, and you're getting run off on. There's no track limits, more or less. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit different ball game. But knowing you enough and going to the racetrack with you enough, you are not scared to get your elbows out and give it right back too. What do you think about that? Do you think you like?
You just set me up here every single question.
No.
I'm grinning. I can see it on your face.
What would they? I'll give you one that you can't answer here. What would they do? Because they call it's kind of like Formula One a little bit, where they call like penalties if you run.
You got stewards.
It's stewards and it's
what
very
would
tight.
this? How like would the store's office just light on fire watching the restarts that you had to watch from last year's Indy? Like, would they just be like, everybody's disqualified, load your and go home?
I'm actually not joking. That would be the case.
Really?
It's very like Shane and I have had some really, really good races this year where it's been we've been rubbing each other, and the rules are so tight where he's got a 5-second penalty, I've got a 5-second penalty, and it's completely different. So I wish our sport back home was more like how it was here, where it's respect driven. So if you go and push someone off in a corner, the next corner you can expect it back, and whereas back home it's not like that. You race to the ruling.
Really? So you don't like if you spin somebody out, you're getting
you're turfed anyway.
Really?
So whereas here it's
What does turf mean?
Turf means you're gone. Yeah,
like put your in the turf.
Yeah, you're turfed. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, turf.
I like when George first when George first moved here, he would say stuff all the time, and I go, put another shrimp on the bobby. He goes, we don't even call them shrimp, mate. We call them prawns.
I never got that here too. And you used to be really bad for it with Foster's.
I would say all the time.
Foster's, yeah.
I was ready to get out of here and get a Foster's.
Yeah.
So do you go to
It's
Outback
not even
while you're here,
Australian
or no?
beer.
Do you go? You don't go to Outback?
It's nothing like it. It's a marketing scheme.
So you don't have boomerangs? What the hell's going on?
We do have boomerangs.
He's got one in my back pocket.
What the hell's going on?
Oh, man. Okay.
These are the hard-hitting questions that people really want to know. All right, it's nice that the cars are the same and they got locked this, but do you have boomerangs? That's what we need to know.
I got a nice collection of boomerangs, actually.
Yeah. And what is your pet kangaroo's name? This is all that we have.
That's the other thing too. That it's like the common question I get or got here when I was a young guy is, like how often do you see a kangaroo? And it's like a deer. It's not.
Yeah.
It's rarely often.
When you see one, are they usually dead on the side of the road, or are they still living?
No, you do see them living sometimes, but yeah, there is a fair bit.
But
of
you don't with them whenever you see them.
No, not unless you like your life. Yeah, some of them are very angry.
I would.
Have you seen how they stand up on their tails?
Oh yeah,
Kick ya.
claws and. Right?
Yeah, they're not very nice.
Just like every other guest, I'm excited to ask you the 3 questions I ask all the other guests on the show. I asked these to SVG, asked them Richard Petty, everybody in between. Question number 1. If you had to pick one type of car and one racetrack to race at the rest of your life, what do you go with?
Oh, that's a tricky one. It'd probably actually be a supercar around Bathurst. I really enjoy that track, and risk versus reward is incredible. You've seen Scotty's laps. You told me before.
Do yourself a favor and just YouTube Scotty McLaughlin's lap at Bathurst.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But when a track looks unbelievably elevated on TV, I can only imagine how much it is in real life. Is it absurd?
I remember the first time I went up Conrod Straights, the back straight, I got sick.
Really?
Yeah, I actually got sick.
Because it's
in a
that
race
steep.
in a car.
I got the worst thing. Yeah, I was.
What
Like a
about
roller
coming back
coaster.
down? Do your ears pop when you come back down? Or
Nah, but it's like you. It's hard to do it justice. Like you have photos and stuff, and when you're doing the track walk, it's like going down the mountain is like trying to climb Bristol. Would be the.
That much of an incline.
It is incredible. Yeah, and it's all blind.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cause like I remember watching some in-cars from like George's Ute, and I'm like, holy shit, you can't see.
Yeah, it's all blind.
So you have to like memorize the track.
Yeah, very much so. So.
Dude, that is
So
gnarly. So
gnarly.
supercar, a current supercar at Bathurst.
Yeah.
So the Bathurst 1000, which is y'all's Daytona 500.
Mm-hmm.
How do they? So it's a team race, right?
It
So
is.
you have co-drivers.
We have a co-driver. Yeah.
Where do you get the co-driver from?
Anywhere.
Because you could.
You looking for a
That's
job?
also a big. That's a championship points paying event, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a big.
So if you're
weight.
leading points, and you go to the Bathurst 1000, who do you like? Whoever you pick to be your teammate is pretty crucial, right? Because that guy's not going for championship points. You are.
Yeah, it's very important, but it's also.
Where do you get them from? Like the Xfinity quote unquote Dunlop 2 Series?
Yeah, there's other series that race at home as well, like GT, GT3, or there's the Porsche Porsche Cup Series back home. So there's plenty of good guys that can fill in and jump in. Ex-supercar guys that have retired, and they'll come out for twice a year to come do it. So there's plenty of good guys around.
Where does that race stack up in your championship?
It's very important. I mean,
like 1 to 12. Like
we're 3 rounds away from it.
Okay.
So it's at the end.
I couldn't tell you what number it is. I don't even know when next race is. I'm terrible with that stuff.
Yeah. Just
what race could we do that for the Cup Series?
the 2 drivers?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have doors, so it'd be too hard to get in and out.
Trust me, it is easier to get in a Cup car than it is to get in a supercar at the moment.
Really?
It is, yeah.
Because the window's so small?
It's a bit of it's interesting without new cars, so I enjoyed getting in and out of the Cup car.
I will say, I have an observation.
What's that?
I was looking at his calves. SVG has nicer calves than Brodie does.
He does have nice cars.
He's got some nice calves.
He shaves them too.
Does he? I can see that. I would show them some bitches off too.
I need to
calves
know.
Like that.
Before we get too far along, there's one thing I need you to do. Can you do the champagne bottle where you smash it and it shoots up in the air?
I haven't done it this year.
But you know how to do that?
I know.
That was the first time I've ever seen it in my life is when he did it in Chicago. I've never seen anything like that.
That's pretty smooth.
Yeah, he's real good at it.
I need you to give me some pointers because the next race I went, I don't care what it is. I'm doing that. If I go to dinner and there's a champagne bottle, I'm like, hey, I learned something. So, yeah, before you leave, I got to have some pointers on that.
Question number 2. Did I insult you about your calves?
No.
Okay. Question number 2.
Well, that's soft.
What's the most embarrassed you've been at the racetrack?
I reckon it's probably. I've been embarrassed many times at the racetrack here when I was living here when I was a young fella. It was our own family car, like you knew, and obviously gone and running K&N and not running very well, and it was good equipment. It just wasn't executed well, and then obviously when you come in and help us out a fair bit, that was probably when I was at my most embarrassed. I would say.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, not when you were there.
Don't blow smoke with my ass now.
Not when you were there. Prior to that. So.
Was there any specific incident though?
Yeah.
Like not just running wise, but something that happened, like pants fell down, like Corey's did at Harvick's house or anything like that?
Goodness.
No, I'd probably. I reckon. Do you remember when they did the battle at the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't puke on yourself like Donnie Leah did, so you're ahead of the game.
No, my seatbelts kept coming undone, and I don't even know why. I think my arm kept hitting it, so that was probably most. And I was running third at the time, so that was.
Did you keep it going, or you pull off?
No, it got closer towards the end, and everyone started wrecking. And I went, maybe not.
Well, you probably wouldn't be leading V8 Supercar points if you just stayed on the racetrack.
Yeah, so
you probably made a good decision.
Yeah, I lasted 40 or 50 laps at that, but yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.
Daniel Quinn did that at Bristol for
Daniel
100
Quinn
laps.
did that. Yeah, he pitted. They're like, what's wrong? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody said Daniel Quinn was the smartest guy, but God love him. Question number 3. If you had to lose every one of your racing memories and keep one, what do you keep?
I would probably keep 2020 when I got my. I was a co-driver in 2020 at Bathurst, and I drove with the team I'm driving for now as a co-driver, and that performance there gave me that drive that I have now. And I got to race Shane's teammate at the time, and yeah, that got me my gig that I'm in today. So I would lose them all for that.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Just your pace, your professionalism. What was it that they're like, ooh, this kid's got it?
I was fast when I drove the car, and I was out of place at the time. I was in the car against the main drivers as a co-driver, and that rarely happens often in that race. They try to keep him, aligned, and so I had to race, Shane, Jamie, his teammate Jamie Whincup,
yeah.
And I was racing Jamie, and he made a mistake and ended up crashing. So
you got in his head.
Oh, well, they say so, but yeah. That was a career-defining moment for me.
Are you on the younger side of guys over there, being 25, or what's like the?
I would be one of the youngest at the moment. Like, there's a few young guys that have stepped in, but I'd probably, me and my teammate are both 25. We're pretty young.
Say that you and Shane come over here and start racing full time. So, in that case, NASCAR or America, we'll just say that, has stolen 3 of the V8 Supercars best guys, do they just declare all out war on us, or what happens?
Like, do they come over here and snag Kyle Larson? Like, what do they do?
I saw something where they were like, Shane, why are you doing better this year? He's like, oh, because Scotty off to America. Like that's what he said in the interview. And I'm like, damn, if Shane comes over here, then we get Brodie.
Oh, I forgot about. I didn't even think about McLaughlin.
Yeah, because Scotty was, doing it, and then comes over here and
doing it in Indy cars.
I mean, what he's been able to do to learn downforce and them things has been.
That's been incredible to watch him go through that process. He never raced any open wheelers growing up as a kid either. He just went straight into cars straight away, and it was pretty. When everyone saw that he was going into cars, everyone was like, "Wow, like if you're gonna go big, he went big."
Yes, dude, big step.
Dude, guy's not scared.
He wheels.
Have you talked to him much, or?
Yeah, I stay in touch with Scotty quite a bit, and when I got my first full-time gig, I sort of lent on him a fair bit and tried to. He was the qualifying master back home. Like, he was the man that could put down that one lap in qualifying, and I tried to extract most out of him as possible when he left. So,
who has given you the best advice going into the weekend?
That's a tricky question.
Me. Talking about pit road.
I hope you give me some good advice before I leave. But I'd probably say I'd had a coming through when I went back home, I got a lot of good advice from Paul Morris, who's actually helping Shane out a fair bit at the moment. And
he's a traitor.
Yeah, he's pretty close with Dale Jr. as well over here. So
who?
You said
Paul Morris.
Paul Morris.
Does he live over there?
He lives over there. Yep.
Yeah.
So Junior actually went to Australia. I want to say 2009 and drove one of his supercars.
Really?
Yeah. So they're actually quite tight, and he's given me a lot of good advice over the years. So I'd probably
What about SVG? Does he say anything, or he's like close to the chest?
He doesn't say much.
Yeah.
He doesn't say much. Yeah, he's pretty tight.
Marcus around much? You ever reach out to him, or?
No, actually, he sort of, when he went back home, he went out to the bushes somewhere in Tasmania and built a bunch of houses. And
really?
Yeah, it was. He sort of disappeared a little bit and just maybe wanted to enjoy his quiet life with his family. So,
yeah.
But he finally come back to Supercars and did some commentating. So I got to talk to him a little bit and see what he's been up to. And I haven't spoken to him prior to coming here. I've been trying to talk to people and learn as much as possible and tried to get some out of Shane, but it's very hard.
Why on Wikipedia is your nickname Bush?
Well, so Paul Morris has a track. He has his own race track, and that's they do a lot of driver coaching there and whatnot. So he's probably one of the best in the world for driver coaching for road course stuff. He's very good at what he does, and the way he explains how to work a car to the best of his ability is unreal. So it was 2019, and I stopped in there. I was actually dropping something off, and it was pissing down with rain. Like, it was, you couldn't even see. Like,
is that a lot, or is it like a little trinkle?
No, that is like you cannot see.
Okay.
Yeah, like the storm we had here yesterday. Like, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
And he had these two cars that got dropped off by a wrecker, and there were two VT Commodores V6, and he goes, "Oh, let's go out and do some drifting, have some fun. We'll do a bit of racecraft training." He just wanted to have some fun. And so I was with my cousin, my two cousins, Kurt and Jake, and we're out there. We're running into each other, having a good time, like just destroying these things. And it started to dry up a little bit. And, of course, they're just road cars that were going to get crushed. So they got stock brakes on them. And so we started hot dogging them a fair bit. And Kurt goes to Kurt, who you've met, went to jump in. And he's like, "Oh, the brakes feel a bit funny." And I went, "Oh, don't risk it. We're racing the next week in the Super 2 Series." And I said, "Oh, don't risk it. If it's feels funny, let's just let's just call it
a day."
We've had our fun for an hour and a half."
Go
and he
grab
goes, I'll do a cool down lap." So he does a cool down lap, and he goes, "Oh, I think they're okay now." And no. We went down the back straight, so we're doing like 130 kilometers an hour, so probably like 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, and it goes into a real tight hairpin. And so Paul's driving the other car, and Kurt's driving this car, and I'm in the passenger seat. And he goes to hit the brake pedal, and he goes, I remember it to this day. He looks at me, and goes, "No brakes, no brakes." So I unbuckled my seatbelt and jumped out.
What?
I jumped out at 70 miles an hour. Yeah, so, and...
What'd you land on?
In the bush.
Yeah, so, of the story. So, I've jumped out, and I've slid along the grass for maybe 300 meters. I I don't know, like an eighth
That
of a
doesn't
mile or
even
something.
cross my
So
fucking mind.
yeah, so I've lost all my clothes because obviously I've gone through grass and mud and it's torn all my clothes off and I've slid up the earth embankment and my cousin Kurt has rode this thing into a tree, right? So Paul pulls up to the car. And it was raining hard enough to where you couldn't really see. So he didn't see me jump out. So he pulls up to this car and he sees Kurt's hopped out and he's like couldn't breathe because he's hit the steering wheel that hard that he's broken his sternum.
Oh my.
So Paul pulls up to the car and he's like, have I killed these two kids?
Yeah.
At my track. And so Kurt jumps out. He's like laying on the ground. And he's like, you all right? And he goes, yeah, I'm all right. And he goes, oh, and then he starts laughing. Paul starts laughing, and then Kurt starts laughing. And he goes, shut up, I can't breathe. Like, I can't breathe. And he goes, where's Brodie? And then Kurt goes, he jumped out. And he goes, what? He jumped out. And then I start walking over back from the earth embankment that I've ended up in, and I got sticks hanging out of my ass.
No clothes on.
All sorts going on, and I couldn't even see because I was literally black from all the mud that I was covered in. I walk over, and I had nothing wrong with me, surprisingly, but I walked over to the car, and the transmission ended up in the passenger seat.
Holy.
So the engine moved back, so far that it pierced through the tunnel, and so it wouldn't have been too good for me if I stayed in the car. So I was pretty happy about that.
Oh my goodness,
dude, who thinks about that? Like, I'm just gonna eject button here.
Let's rewind that story to the point of where he looks over and says, "I have no brakes. I have no brakes." Did you run through a list of like, I can ride this out?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a quick prayer. I'm gonna jump out, tuck and roll.
No, but do you know why? You know what happened? Do you remember that time we went testing at Greenville in the K&N car? I got throttle stuck. And I went into the wall at turn 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I broke my wrist. I fractured my wrist at part of it. So when he said the brakes were feeling a bit funny, I started thinking
PTSD.
I started actually thinking of times like that, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
You're not riding it out.
I'm not riding. I'm done. I am done with that stuff.
I'm looking for the bush.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again. So yeah, we kept that quiet for a while, and then the story eventually got out. Yeah.
So that's where Bush came from.
That's where
I did not expect that.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a story.
That was. And we're going to wrap it up because of that. Oh, my goodness. It doesn't get any better than that. Well, Brodie, I wish you well this weekend. Good luck. I'm excited to race again with you. And, any shout-outs for your partners? You got a bunch of them on your T-shirt. Give a couple shout-outs to the partners.
Yeah, I think, Mobile X, Peter Addison, he founder of Boost Mobile here in America. He's started up another business here. It's been in the works for a few years now, and a lot of partners back home, Sean Partners, and my team from back home, Erebus Motorsport, they've been working closely with RCR and trying to help both sides out, and as well as Richard and everyone at RCR for giving me such a great opportunity, and can't wait. So
awesome.
Yeah, don't run into me.
Yeah, you're getting run into.
No guarantees, buddy. And I only run into people I respect. So the last couple of weeks, man, I've had some people frustrated with me. We're going to talk about
his
that
friends
more.
have been punching him, yelling at him.
Yeah, Ryan Priest hits me in the helmet. Ryan Blaney. They're all named Ryan too, so you should be in good shape. Your name's not Ryan.
You got Ryan,
he's mad at me now too. Join the Ryan list. There you go. I appreciate you jumping in the studio with us, buddy. It was a good time.
Thank you.